But there are people doing life sentences for first time in the United States. Life sentences. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld life sentences for first-time drug offenses against an Eighth Amendment challenge that such a sentence was cruel and unusual punishment. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, it's not cruel and unusual to sentence a young man at a first-time drug offense to life imprisonment, even though virtually no other country in the world does such a thing. So rather than imagining that the criminals are them, not us, I think we've got to be willing to say, there but for the grace of God go I. After all, President Barack Obama himself has admitted to using more than a little bit of drugs in his lifetime. In his youth, he used marijuana, used cocaine, and if he had not been raised by a white mother in Kansas or white grandparents in Hawaii, if he had been raised in the hood, the odds are great that he would have been stopped, he would have been searched, he would have been frisked, he would have been caught. And far from being president of the United States, he might not even have the right to vote. So this is about all of us. It's about recognizing and honoring the dignity of all of us. But just helping a few and creating safe places for a few and telling the truth, even that is not enough. Because just as during the days of slavery it wasn't enough to build the Underground Railroad, you had to be willing to work for abolition. Today we have got to be willing to work for the abolition of this system of mass incarceration. Abolish it entirely. And that means ending the drug war once and for all. It means ending all these forms of legal discrimination against people released from prison that keep them locked in a permanent second sentence for life. And it means shifting from a purely punitive approach to dealing with violence and violent crimes to a more restorative and rehabilitative approach, one that takes seriously the interests of the victim, the offender, and the community as a whole. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do, and if you think like it sounds like too much, if you think we can't possibly rise to the challenge that's before us, keep in mind that all of the rules, laws, politics, and practices that comprise this system of mass incarceration rest upon one core belief, and it is the same core belief that sustained Jim Crow. It's the belief that some of us, are not worthy of genuine care, compassion, and concern. And when we effectively challenge that core belief, this whole system begins to fall like dominoes. A multiracial, multi-ethnic human rights movement must be born, one that takes seriously the dignity and humanity of all people. And yes, it has got to be multiracial and multi-ethnic. I mean, this drug war may have been born with black folks in mind, but it is a war that has destroyed the lives of people and communities of all colors. A young white kid who's getting a prison sentence, rather than drug treatment he desperately needs but cannot afford, is suffering because of a drug war declared with black folks in mind. And we now see that another war has been declared. A war on illegal immigrants that is leading to another prison building bill. So we have got to be willing to connect the dots and build a multiracial, multi-ethnic movement on behalf of all of us. But before this movement can truly get underway, a great awakening is required. We have got to awaken from this colorblind slumber that we've been in to the reality of race in America. We've got to be willing to embrace those labeled criminals. Not necessarily all their behavior, but them, their humanness. For it has been a refusal and failure to recognize the dignity and humanity of all people that has been a sturdy foundation for every caste system that has ever existed in the United States or anywhere else in the world. It's our task, I firmly believe, to end not just mass incarceration, not just the war on drugs, but to end this history and cycle of caste in America. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you. Thank you.
That was Michelle Alexander, Incarceration Nation. She spoke in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Michelle Alexander is a professor of law at Ohio State University. She's the author of the bestseller, The New Jim Crow. This program is produced by Alternative Radio, an unvetted award-winning weekly series based in Boulder, Colorado. Since we began broadcasting in 1986, AR is independent. That's why we can do programs such as the one you just heard, or others featuring Angela Davis, Paul Cienfuegos, Juliet Shore, Arun Gupta, Cornel West, Maud Barlow, and Medea Benjamin. We have an extensive Noam Chomsky and Howard Zinn archive. We also have a series of books. Our latest is with Richard Wolff, Occupy the Economy, Challenging Capitalism. To access our complete audio and book archive, just go to our website, alternativeradio.org. Again, our website where we are podcasting, alternativeradio.org. To place a credit card order for a CD, MP3, or written transcript of the program you just heard, Michelle Alexander, Incarceration Nation, just call us toll-free, 1-800-444-1977. Again, that toll-free number is 1-800-444-1977. Or you can order on our secure website, alternativeradio.org. That's alternativeradio.org. Special thanks to Barbara Ventrello and the Lannan Foundation. Series theme music is performed by the Kronos Quartet from Pieces of Africa. Joe Ritchie is our editor. I'm David Barsamian. Thank you for listening.
Environmentalists far and wide have expressed growing concerns over our approach to fossil fuels. Nancy Pearlman is a longtime environmental conservation activist and founder of the radio program Environment.